Welcome to Africo Tales. In the throbbing heart of Neo-Lagos, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and the hum of ambition was a constant symphony, a storm brewed within the humble walls of a small apartment. A mother's fury, sharper than a broken calabash shard, threatened to shatter the fragile peace of a family, her eyes reflecting not love, but the cold, hard gleam of materialism. This tale, born from the dust of betrayal and watered by a father's unwavering devotion, is a testament to the spirit of resilience that courses through the veins of Africa's children, a journey that will sweep you from the depths of despair to the pinnacle of triumph, leaving an indelible mark on your soul. The cries of two tiny infants, Kunle and Bayo, barely 3 months old, sliced through the tense silence of the small apartment, their fragile voices a stark contrast to the metallic clang of a zipper. Their mother, Adiola, a woman whose beauty once rivaled the golden sun setting over the Atlantic coastline, now moved with a terrifying precision, stuffing designer clothes into an oversized travel bag. Her face, usually soft, was a mask of rigid anger, lines etched deep around her mouth as if she were ready to confront the entire world, perhaps even the ancient spirits themselves. Baba Peter, his frame usually strong and resilient like an Iroko tree, now seemed diminished, his voice a gentle plea amidst the chaos. "Adiola, my love," he began, his eyes fixed on the trembling bundles on the bed. "The babes are crying. They need their mother's warmth, her comfort." But Adiola, without even sparing him a glance, continued her furious packing. Her reply was a blade of ice cutting through the warm air of their home. "They are no longer my concern, Peter. I am leaving you. This life, it is not the one I was promised." She zipped a compartment with a harsh finality, the sound echoing like a death knell for their dreams. Peter knelt, his dignity momentarily forgotten, his voice raw with desperation. "Please, Adiola, if not for me, then for the sake of these innocent children, these precious gifts from Olodumare. Do not abandon them." Adiola finally turned, her gaze searing, devoid of any past affection. "I did not marry you to suffer, Peter. Since you cannot give me the life of luxury I desire, the life I deserve in this great city, then I am done. Do not ever come looking for me. As for the babes, do whatever you wish with them. I care not." She paused, her lips twisting into a bitter sneer that chilled Peter to his very soul. "To be honest," she added, her voice dropping to a low, venomous whisper, "I do not even care if they live or die." With that cruel declaration, she zipped her bag with a violent flourish, a thunderclap in the small room, and stormed out, the slamming door vibrating through the very foundation of their meager home, leaving behind a silence heavier than any grief. Once, their love had been a flowing river, tranquil and life-giving. But the day Peter lost his prestigious corporate job, that river had dried to a cracked bed of sorrow, and Adiola's true colors, a mosaic of ambition and cold self-interest, began to show. She had threatened to leave countless times, complaining about everything: the small, functional apartment they moved into, the simple, nourishing meals they now ate. Peter had begged, not just for his dwindling love for her, but for the sake of their twin sons, Kunle and Bayo, who were innocent blossoms caught in a whirlwind of adult desires. But Adiola, blinded by the dazzling lights of Neo-Lagos and the phantom promises of wealth, had never listened. As Adiola's luxury sedan sped away, its taillights a fading red glow against the city's neon-streaked horizon, Baba Peter was left alone with the profound silence, punctuated only by the persistent, heart-wrenching wails of his newborn sons. He moved to the bed, his strong arms, which once held blueprints for gleaming towers, now gently cradling the two tiny forms. Kunle and Bayo, sensing their mother's absence, cried with an intensity that pierced his soul, but Peter, though tears blurred his vision, rocked them with a tender, rhythmic sway, humming ancient lullabies he barely remembered from his own childhood. Slowly, Miraculously, the cries subsided, replaced by the soft gurgle of slumber. He gazed at their innocent faces, perfect miniature replicas of himself, and a heavy sorrow settled in his chest, a weight more burdensome than any he had ever carried. But through the pain, a fierce resolve ignited within him, burning bright, like the eternal flame of a communal hearth. "My sons," he whispered, his voice firm despite the tremor in his heart. "I may not have the towering wealth of the city to give you a life of gilded ease, but I promise you, by the very breath in my lungs and the ancestors who guide my steps, I will be the best father in this entire world. I will be your shield, your provider, your unwavering rock." He continued to rock them softly, the rhythmic motion a silent prayer, until the twin boys drifted into a deep sleep, their tiny chests rising and falling in perfect unison. The dawn of the next morning brought not sunlight, but the cold grip of hunger and the gnawing worry of an uncertain future. Baba Peter awoke with an emptiness in his stomach and an even greater emptiness in his pockets. Kunle and Bayo, sensing the dawn, began to stir, their hungry cries a stark reminder of his new, daunting reality. There was no time for self-pity, no luxury for despair. The city, a relentless beast, demanded action. He had to move, he had to provide. His corporate career, a symbol of urban ambition, was a distant memory. With a renewed sense of purpose, Peter left the apartment, not in his former suit and tie, but in simple clothes, heading to the bustling market district. There, he hired a sturdy wheelbarrow, its worn handles a stark contrast to the plush leather of his former office chair. With meticulous care, he fashioned slings from strong fabrics, strapping Kunle and Bayo securely to his chest, their tiny heads nestled close to his heart. This was his new uniform, his new identity, a father, a provider, pushing his dreams on a wheel. As he maneuvered the heavy wheelbarrow through the labyrinthine alleys of the market, laden with sacks of yams and cartons of produce, many eyes turned towards him. Some stared with a detached curiosity, others with a glint of pity. Yet there were those who smiled, their faces softened by compassion, pressing small coins into his hands, their silent blessings a balm to his weary soul. An elderly woman, her face a roadmap of life's challenges, stopped him, her voice a gentle melody. "My son," she said, her eyes brimming with a mother's concern, "you are doing the work of a true man. Olodumare Wilel bless your efforts." She pressed a Kiar ISP 500 note into his calloused palm. "This is for the babes, for their nourishment." Baba Peter bowed his head slightly, a gesture of profound gratitude, and continued his arduous journey. Day after day, the routine continued. Baba Peter, with Kunle and Bayo strapped to his chest, navigated the bustling streets, his wheelbarrow his only companion. He had no extended family in the city, his own mother having passed years ago, his sisters scattered across distant towns. It was a lonely, relentless struggle, but he never complained. In fact, a deep, abiding joy settled in his heart, a profound sense of purpose knowing he was providing for his sons. He had doubted himself at first, overwhelmed by the enormity of his responsibility, but now, watching Kunle and Bayo thrive, growing stronger and more vibrant with each passing day, he knew he was capable. He was not just surviving, he was parenting. One Monday morning, as he prepared to leave with his wheelbarrow, a familiar, gentle voice called out to him. It was Iyakaro, an elderly neighbor who lived in a small, traditional compound, nestled between the modern high-rises. Her face was etched with the wisdom of years, her eyes warm with empathy. "My son," she said, her voice soft as a Harmattan breeze. "Let me care for the babes today. I will watch over them until you return." Peter hesitated, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Ayakaro, sensing his unease, added, "The sun's glare is too harsh for these little ones. And your load is heavy. Don't worry. They will be safe and cherished in my home." After a moment of heartfelt reflection, Baba Peter carefully handed Kunle and Bayo to her. As he walked away, leaving his most precious possessions in another's care for the first time, a strange mix of relief and restlessness washed over him. These boys were his world, his very heartbeat. Since Adiola's departure, an unbreakable bond had formed, a cord of love stronger than any material possession. He would give his life to protect them. Iyakaro, though poor in worldly possessions, possessed a boundless heart. She cared for the boys with immense love, feeding them, bathing them with traditional soaps, dressing them in clean, soft wrappers. When Baba Peter returned that evening, he found his sons gurgling with delight in Iyakaro's arms, their laughter echoing through the small compound. He smiled, a deep, silent thanks welling up within him, and took them home, his heart filled with a renewed sense of hope. From that day on, Iyakaro became an indispensable part of their lives, a pillar of communal support, a true grandmother. As the years unfolded, under the watchful eyes of Baba Peter and the loving embrace of Iyakaro, Kunle and Bayo blossomed. The bustling streets of Neo Lagos became their playground, the vibrant market their classroom, and their father's relentless dedication their constant lesson in perseverance. They knew two figures in their young lives: their loving Baba Peter, whose hands were calloused but whose heart was pure gold, and Iyakaro, the kind woman they affectionately called Mama. Their home, though modest, was a sanctuary of love and purpose. The twin boys did not attend the exclusive private schools favored by the city's elite, but Baba Peter, through sheer grit and unwavering determination, ensured their education was never compromised. He worked longer hours, pushed heavier loads, and saved every kobo to pay their school fees and purchase every book they needed, no matter the cost. More importantly, he instilled in them values richer than any currency: kindness, respect for elders and for all people, and the unyielding spirit of hard work. "A child who washes his hands clean," he would often tell them, borrowing from an ancient proverb, "will dine with elders. So too, those who strive with pure hearts will find their place among the great." At 18, tall and strapping, embodying the best of their father's strength and their own youthful ambition, Kunle and Bayo graduated from their community secondary school. Baba Peter's chest swelled with pride, a joy so profound it transcended all the hardships he had endured. The boys, fueled by their father's sacrifices and their own innate intelligence, dedicated themselves to their university entrance examinations, the WAEC and JAMB, studying day and night under the dim glow of a single kerosene lamp when electricity failed, poring over textbooks in the bustling communal library. Their diligence bore fruit. Kunle scored an impressive 325 in his JAM, while Bayo, his academic prowess shining even brighter, achieved a remarkable 341. Both gained admission to study medicine and surgery at the prestigious Federal University of Neo Lagos, a dream that seemed almost too grand for their humble beginnings. But with the euphoria of admission came the cold, hard reality of university fees, a struggle far greater than any exam. One sweltering afternoon, Kunle and Bayo burst into their small home, their faces alight with laughter and an uncontainable excitement. They rushed to their father, their energy a palpable force, and proudly handed him their printed JAM result slips, crisp with the promise of a bright future. Baba Peter's weary face broke into a wide, joyous smile. "Oh, my sons, my strong Iroko trees," he exclaimed, pulling them into a tight embrace. "You have done exceptionally well. I am so proud of you. Now I can walk through the city with my shoulders held high, a king among men, for my sons will soon become healers, doctors saving lives." He puffed out his chest, mimicking a grand chieftain, his eyes twinkling with pride and a touch of theatricality. They all laughed together, the small apartment filled with a warmth and joy that had been absent for far too long. It felt like the ancestors themselves were smiling down upon them. Later that evening, when the laughter had faded and Kunle and Bayo were deep in their dreams, Baba Peter slipped quietly into his small room. The smile that had graced his face just hours before now evaporated, replaced by a deep furrow of worry. He sat heavily on the edge of his bed, the spring groaning in protest beneath his weight, his shoulders slumped. The air in the room, once light with joy, now felt suffocating, thick with unspoken burdens. He had no money, not even enough to sponsor one of his sons, let alone two, through the rigorous and expensive medical program. The reality hit him with the force of a market lorry. He was utterly, completely broke. He lowered his head, whispering to himself, his voice raw with despair. All these years of struggle, of pushing that wheelbarrow through sun and rain, all the sacrifices, and now, when my sons have finally reached for the stars, I cannot even provide the ladder for them to climb. A crushing sense of failure enveloped him, a feeling so profound it felt like he was drowning in a sea of helplessness and shame. The weight of his inability was a physical ache, but then a primal spark, inherited from generations of resilient ancestors, flickered within him. His large, calloused hands clenched into fists, knuckles white with determination. "No," he muttered, his voice gaining strength. "I will not let money be the tombstone of their dreams. I will do whatever it takes, break every barrier, for my sons must become doctors. That is their destiny, and I will clear the path." The next morning, Baba Peter rose long before the city awakened, before even the first rays of the sun kissed the towering skyscrapers. But this time, he did not reach for his familiar wheelbarrow. Deep in his heart, he knew that the solution to this monumental challenge lay far beyond the modest earnings that old Barrow could provide. The university fees for 2 medical students were a different beast entirely. His steps were heavy, burdened by the weight of his son's dreams, as he made his way through the quiet streets, a lone figure in the pre-dawn gloom, to the opulent, home of a wealthy man in the neighborhood, a titan of industry known for his philanthropy and his occasional harshness. The rich man, disturbed from his early morning ritual, appeared at his grand doorway, still clad in silk pajamas, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. "What urgent business brings you to my house at this ungodly hour, Peter?" he inquired, his voice laced with impatience. Baba Peter, his pride momentarily swallowed by desperation, dropped to his knees on the manicured lawn, a gesture of profound humility that was rarely seen in the bustling, status-conscious city. "Please, sir," he pleaded, his voice thick with emotion. "I beg you, take me as your houseboy. I will do anything you command. I will wash your luxury cars, cook your meals, sweep your vast compound, even tend to your dogs like a personal steward. Just help me send my 2 sons to university. I will work for you like a bondservant, a slave, until they graduate, without asking for a single kobo for myself." He poured out his heart, explaining how Kunle and Bayo were his very life, the only remaining joy in his world, his hope for the future. He begged with every fiber of his being. But the rich man, after a moment of cold contemplation, shook his head. "Training 2 students in medicine and surgery, Peter, is no child's play. It requires a fortune. I cannot undertake such a burden." With those words, he dismissed Baba Peter, who rose quietly, his heart heavier than the wheelbarrow he once pushed, and walked away. He did not stop there. He visited 5 more affluent homes across the city, titans of industry and successful entrepreneurs. Each time he knelt, each time he begged, offering his labor, his very existence, in exchange for his son's future. And each time, he was met with the same cold refusal. Tired, physically and emotionally broken, Baba Peter returned, home, the vibrant city lights mocking his despair. For 2 agonizing days, Baba Peter returned from his wheelbarrow work, his silence a palpable weight in the small apartment. He barely spoke, his usual warmth replaced by a heavy quietness that his sons, Kunle and Bayo, instantly sensed. His heart was a churning ocean of despair, not for himself, but for them. He wrestled with how to tell his brilliant boys that their dreams, so painstakingly built, might crumble before they even began. He had promised them the moon, and now he couldn't even offer them the stars. One evening, as the city lights began to twinkle against the darkening sky, Baba Peter finally gathered his courage. He called Kunle and Bayo into his room, the atmosphere thick with unspoken anxiety. "My sons," he began, his voice barely a whisper, strained with a profound sadness. "I am sorry. I have failed you both. Please forgive your old father." He paused, battling the tremor in his voice. "I made a promise long ago, when you were just tiny babes, that I would send you to the ends of the earth to study. But now I don't even have enough to send you to the university here, in our own city." He tried to maintain his composure, to be the strong Iroko tree they knew, but his voice cracked, betraying the depth of his pain. He turned his face away, swallowing hard, trying desperately to stem the rising tide of tears that threatened to overwhelm him. Kunle, the more pragmatic of the two, stood up and went to his father, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Baba," he said softly, his voice imbued with a wisdom beyond his years, "there is nothing to forgive. We know how much you love us. We know you would have sent us even to the moon if you had the means." Bayo, his twin, added, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, "Whether we go to university or not, Baba, we love you always. You are our hero." They both wrapped their arms around their father, holding him tightly, a silent affirmation of their unwavering bond. That night, when Baba Peter was sure his sons were asleep, he knelt quietly beside his bed, his large frame shaking with uncontrolled sobs. His voice, though low, was a guttural cry of pain that echoed in the silent room. "Olodumare, Abba Father," he wept, "please help me. I have nothing, but you have everything. My boys, they deserve this chance, this future. Please, Lord, help me send them to school." He hit his hands on the worn floorboards, his shoulders shaking with the force of his anguish, begging God like a man drowning in sorrow, desperate for a lifeline. Kunle and Bayo were not asleep. They heard everything, every broken sob, every whispered prayer, every desperate plea. It tore their young hearts to pieces. All their lives, their father had been their rock, their unshakable mountain. He never cried, never complained, even when life's burdens were heaviest. But tonight, he wept, a raw, primal grief that was for them. They buried their faces in their pillows, their own silent sobs shaking their beds, a shared agony binding them closer than ever. The next few days passed with a fragile peace in the house. Kunle and Bayo, though heartbroken, found a quiet strength in their shared resolve. They knew their father's pain was too great for them to simply add to it. They took a bold step, a testament to their maturity and ingenuity. They went to the university and, with heavy hearts, deferred their admission. It was a painful decision, a momentary surrender of their dreams, but it was part of a new plan. They would work, save money, and help their father make their dreams a reality the following year. One bustling morning, with the sun already blazing fiercely over the commercial hub of Neo Lagos, Kunle and Bayo embarked on a new quest, to find work. They walked for hours, their youthful optimism slowly eroded by countless rejections. No vacancies, not hiring, too young. The city, usually a beacon of opportunity, seemed to close its doors to them. Just as despair began to set in, they stumbled upon a neat, respectable restaurant, its aroma of spiced grilled fish and jollof rice wafting enticingly into the street. With a renewed spark of hope, they entered. To their surprise and immense, Relief, they were hired on the spot as kitchen assistants and waiters. Kunli and Bio threw themselves into their new roles with the same dedication they applied to their studies. They greeted customers with genuine smiles, served dishes with an attentiveness that belied their youth, and showed unwavering respect to everyone, from the most affluent businessman in a bespoke suit to the humblest street vendor. Their innate charm and diligence quickly won over the restaurant's patrons, who often left generous tips, impressed by the twins' polite demeanor and tireless work ethic. In a city where quick money often led to moral compromises, some unscrupulous men tried to take advantage of their apparent vulnerability, offering tempting shortcuts or illicit propositions. But Kunli and Bio, remembering their father's lessons on integrity and dignity, stood their ground, refusing to sell their souls or compromise their values for fleeting gains. They saved almost every penny they earned, living frugally, their shared dream of medical school a guiding star. At night, they would meticulously count their earnings, the clinking of coins a hopeful melody, and then kneel with their father, their voices uniting in prayer. Baba Peter, though heartbroken that his sons had to defer their education, never stopped praying for them. Every day he would kneel, calling upon Olodumare to bless the work of their hands, to guide their steps, and to open doors that seemed closed. His faith was an unshakable anchor in the stormy sea of their lives. After approximately 7 months of relentless hard work, disciplined saving, and unwavering prayer, a miracle began to unfold. Kunle and Bio had amassed enough capital to take a bold leap. They opened a small restaurant of their own, not grand or extravagant, but clean, neat, and thoughtfully arranged. It was modest, located in a less prominent but still accessible part of the city, yet it radiated an inviting warmth. They cooked delicious home-style Nigerian food, infused with the flavors of their heritage, and treated every customer not just as a patron, but as family. Recognizing the power of modern communication, they also leveraged social media, posting mouth-watering photos and engaging with potential customers online. Before long, word spread like wildfire through the city's vibrant online communities and local gossip networks. Customers, drawn by the delicious food, the welcoming atmosphere, and the story of the honest, hardworking twins, began to flock to their establishment in increasing numbers. The little restaurant, named the Twins' Hearth, quickly became a popular spot, a symbol of hope and resilience in the bustling metropolis. Kunli and Bayo were finally rising, their entrepreneurial spirit blossoming. They continued to save every bit of profit, the dream of becoming doctors still a quiet ember in their hearts. But life, like the winding streets of Neo-Lagos, often had its own unexpected paths. The Twins' Hearth was bustling, the aroma of sizzling peppered goat and steaming jollof rice filling the air, the rhythmic clatter of plates and cheerful chatter a symphony of success. One sweltering evening, after a particularly long and tiring day, Kunli was tidying the tables, his mind already drifting to the next day's menu, when his eyes caught an unusual glint under one of the plush, custom-made chairs. He bent down, curious, and retrieved a sleek black leather briefcase, clearly expensive, its polished surface reflecting the restaurant's soft lighting. "Bio, look!" he exclaimed, holding it up, the weight of it surprisingly heavy in his hand. "Someone must have forgotten this. It looks important." Their curiosity, a trait often encouraged by their father's open-mindedness, got the better of them. With a shared glance, they carefully unlatched the briefcase. As it sprang open, their eyes widened, then froze in stunned disbelief. Inside, nestled among a stack of official-looking documents, was a thick, pristine pile of crisp American dollar bills, bundled neatly with rubber bands. The sheer volume of the currency was staggering, an amount they had only ever seen in films, or heard whispered about in the market. Bio, usually the more reserved twin, breathed, This person must be incredibly wealthy. Who leaves this much money behind?" Their hearts pounded, a mixture of awe and apprehension. The temptation, fleeting but potent, to simply keep such a fortune, to solve all their problems in one swift, silent act, flickered in the periphery of their minds. But their father's voice, echoing the ancient wisdom, resonated louder. "Honesty is a garment of royalty, my sons. Wear it always, for it is worth more than all the gold in the world." Without another moment's hesitation, they snapped the briefcase shut, the click a firm declaration of their unwavering integrity. They knew what they had to do. They took the briefcase home, securing it in their modest apartment, guarding it like a sacred trust. When Baba Peter saw it, glistening under the single electric bulb, and heard his son's story, his face softened, with immense pride. He listened quietly, then nodded, a wise smile playing on his lips. "You did the right thing, my sons, bringing it home. Do not worry. The owner will surely return for it. This bag, it carries not just money, but something far more valuable, something irreplaceable to its owner." His words held a prophetic weight, though none of them fully grasped their significance at the time. The next morning, before the city truly awoke, Kunli and Bio returned to the twins' hearth, the briefcase carefully tucked into a discreet carrying bag. As they arrived, they noticed a distinguished-looking man standing beside a gleaming black luxury SUV, its polished chrome catching the nascent sunlight. He looked worried, his eyes scanning the street and the restaurant's facade with a desperate intensity. When the twins approached him with their respectful greetings, he immediately asked, his voice laced with urgency, "Did you, by any chance, see a black briefcase around here yesterday evening?" "Yes, sir," Kunli replied, his voice calm and steady, despite the nervous flutter in his stomach. He reached into the discreet sack they carried and carefully handed over the briefcase. The man's face, etched with worry moments before, visibly relaxed, a wave of profound relief washing over him. "Thank you," he said quickly, his gratitude palpable, as he snatched the briefcase almost defensively. Without another word, he quickly entered his luxury SUV and drove off, leaving behind a lingering scent of expensive cologne and a trail of dust. Bio blinked, watching the receding taillights. "He could have at least given us one of those dollars," he joked, a hint of playful disappointment in his voice. Kunli laughed, nudging his twin. "So, in your mind now, you want dollars, eh? I'll start calling you Chief Dollar Boy." They both shared a light-hearted laugh, the momentary fantasy of instant wealth quickly dissolving into their usual camaraderie. They walked into the restaurant, ready to begin another day's work. They were still the only two workers, a testament to their dedication and frugality. The business, though growing, hadn't yet expanded enough to hire more hands, but they remained hopeful, their spirits buoyed by the belief that every day was a step forward, a climb up the ladder of their destiny. Around midday, as the Neo-Lagos sun blazed down on the bustling streets, turning the asphalt into a shimmering mirage, the same man who had retrieved the briefcase earlier returned. He drove up in the same sleek black SUV, but this time he wasn't in a rush. He parked deliberately, stepped out, and walked towards the restaurant, a serene smile gracing his distinguished features. "I am Prince Tony," he introduced himself, his voice resonating with an authority that hinted at his lineage and stature. "I have returned for your honesty and faithfulness. I wish to reward you truly." Kunli and Bio exchanged hopeful glances, their thoughts immediately turning to their deferred medical school admissions. Could this be the moment? Would they finally receive a little extra money, enough to kickstart their university dreams? But to their surprise, Prince Tony didn't hand them a stack of currency or a single-dollar bill. Instead, with a grand gesture, he led them out of their humble restaurant and towards a large, imposing building down the street, a magnificent structure of glass and steel that stood proudly amidst the urban landscape, its architecture a symbol of modern success. "This," he announced, his voice filled with a quiet pride, "is for you." Kunle and Bayo stood there, dumbfounded, their mouths slightly agape. "The documents in that briefcase," Prince Tony explained, his eyes sweeping across the grand facade, "were more valuable than the money, more vital than gold. They contained the deeds to several properties, crucial business agreements, and even my family's ancestral land titles. By preserving that bag, you saved my family from potential ruin, from years of legal battles and from a great loss. Now, as a token of my sincere gratitude, I want you to have this building for your restaurant. It's all yours, free and clear." Kunle and Bayo stood rooted to the spot, their minds struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what they were hearing. They had worked so hard, struggled for so long, and now it seemed like a dream had materialized before their very eyes. Grateful tears welled up in their eyes, blurring the grand architecture before them, as they thanked Prince Tony over and over again, their hearts overflowing with a joy that felt too big for their chests. With hearts bursting with an almost unbelievable joy, Kunle and Bayo quickly hailed a taxi, their minds racing, eager to share this momentous news with their father. They spotted Baba Peter in the bustling market, his familiar figure standing by his worn wheelbarrow, taking a well-deserved break, savoring a refreshing glass of kunu, a traditional millet drink. Without a word, they ran to him, their young bodies fueled by an exhilaration that transcended the crowded market. They threw their arms around him, engulfing him in a tight embrace. Market sellers and passers-by stared, amazed at the sight of these two well-dressed, handsome young men openly embracing a humble wheelbarrow pusher, a visible symbol of the city's underclass. Baba Peter, though initially startled, laughed, shaking his head in amused disbelief at their exuberant display. My sons! What is all this commotion? Sit," he said, his warm smile spreading across his face. "Let me buy you some kunu." They sat with him on a rickety bench, sipping the cool drink, their excitement bubbling over, their eyes sparkling with a secret they could barely contain. Finally, Bayo, unable to hold back any longer, burst out, "Baba, we have a surprise for you, a truly magnificent surprise." "Oh?" Baba Peter asked, his curiosity piqued, a smile playing on his lips as he wondered what new adventure his enterprising sons had stumbled upon. Words, they realized, couldn't fully express the sheer magnitude of their news. So, with a shared glance, they simply stood up, motioning for their father to follow them. Baba Peter, sensing the gravity and joy in their eyes, immediately rose, to his feet, a willing participant in their delightful mystery. They led him through the familiar, bustling streets, past gleaming storefronts and crowded sidewalks, until they reached the magnificent building Prince Tony had gifted them. Naomi's voice, brimming with excitement, rang out, clear and strong amidst the city's din. "It's ours, Baba. The man who lost the briefcase, Prince Tony, he gave it to us. He said we should open our restaurant here." Tears of profound happiness filled Baba Peter's eyes, blurring the impressive facade of the building before him. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The grand restaurant, the new beginning, the astonishing reward for his son's unwavering honesty. It was more than he had ever dreamed of for them, a testament to Olodumare's boundless grace. They all celebrated together, their laughter and joyous exclamations filling the air as they stood in front of the building that was now their own, a symbol of their incredible journey. That evening at home, Kunle and Bayo sat down with their father. They could clearly see the strain etched onto his face, the years of hard labor, pushing the wheelbarrow under the harsh Neo-Lagos sun, finally taking its toll. Kunle spoke softly, but his voice was firm, filled with love and respect. "Baba, it is time for you to stop pushing the wheelbarrow. Your strength is still there, but you are not getting any younger. This kind of strenuous work is for younger men, for us now, not for you." His voice was gentle, yet unwavering. Bayo nodded in agreement, his eyes holding his father's gaze. "We've got this now, Baba. You have given us everything we needed to succeed. Your love, your values, your unwavering support. Now, it is time for you to rest, to reap the harvest of your years of sacrifice." Baba Peter opened his mouth, as if to argue, to protest the notion of idleness, but he saw the unshakable determination in their eyes, the profound love in their expressions. He couldn't help but be moved by their words, by the evidence of their incredible growth. They had worked so hard, had faced adversity with such courage, and now they stood tall, no longer dependent, but capable and strong. With a heavy heart, yet a feeling of immense pride, Baba Peter agreed to retire from his grueling labor that very day. The wheelbarrow, a symbol of his struggle and sacrifice, would be put away, replaced by the comfort and dignity his sons had earned for him. Prince Tony, a man of his word and a true noble, didn't just bestow upon Kunle and Bayo the grand building. He had gone further, furnishing it lavishly with brand-new, comfortable chairs, sleek modern tables, elegant dinnerware, and state-of-the-art kitchen equipment. He had provided everything they could possibly need to transform the twins' hearth into a resounding success, a truly upscale establishment. The twins, their entrepreneurial spirit ignited by this incredible windfall, poured their hearts and souls into making the place perfect. They spent countless hours meticulously arranging the decor, refining their menu, and training a new team of staff, ensuring that every detail reflected their vision of warmth, excellence, and authentic Nigerian hospitality. The twins' hearth quickly became a phenomenon in Neo-Lagos. The atmosphere was a captivating blend of classy elegance and inviting warmth, a sanctuary from the city's relentless pace. The food, prepared with ancestral recipes and modern flair, was nothing short of mouth-watering, a culinary journey that tantalized the senses. But it was their unwavering hospitality, kind, patient, and genuinely heartfelt, that truly set them apart and became the driving force behind their meteoric success. Soon, customers were flocking in, not just for the delicious meals, but for the welcoming ambiance and the story of the honest twins. The restaurant was no longer just a business. It was a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of integrity, a way out of poverty, and a dream realized through hard work and perseverance. It became a beacon in the city, inspiring many with its tale of triumph over adversity. More importantly, Kunle and Bayo ensured their father, Baba Peter, was meticulously cared for. He no longer had to brave the scorching sun or the pounding rain with his wheelbarrow. They treated him like the king he truly was, providing for him in ways he had never dared to dream of, ensuring his comfort and peace in his twilight years. His tired, weathered hands, once calloused from heavy loads, now rested, free from toil. He spent his days enjoying the fruits of his labor and his son's devotion, knowing that his sacrifices had led them to this extraordinary place. His heart, once heavy with worry, was now light with contentment. But Kunle and Bayo, steeped in their father's wisdom and the cultural value of communal memory, did not forget the one who had also helped them along their difficult path. They remembered Iya Karo, who had nurtured them when they were tiny babes, her generosity a life raft in their infancy. She was old now, her health often frail, but she had been a pillar of selfless support in their lives. Kunle and Bayo made sure her life was as comfortable and dignified as possible. They renovated her little house, transforming it into a cozy, livable haven, replete with modern amenities. Every month, they sent her a substantial allowance, paid for all her hospital bills, and made sure she never lacked for anything. Their kindness to Iya Karo was as heartfelt as their love for their father. They understood the profound value of gratitude, knowing that the river that forgets its source soon runs dry. They wanted to ensure that the people who had nurtured them along the way were never forgotten, their contributions honored and remembered. One quiet afternoon, as the midday rush at the twins' hearth began to wane, a woman walked into the restaurant. Her steps were tentative, her eyes darting around with a lost and weary expression. her clothes hinting at a life of hardship despite a faint echo of former elegance. "What do you want?" One of the newly hired ladies, a polite but curious young woman named Adewumi, asked, her voice soft. The woman looked up, her eyes, though shadowed with fatigue, filled with a desperate flicker of hope. "I'm looking for a job," she whispered, her voice a dry rasp. Adewumi, sensing the deep desperation in the woman's tone, compassionately led her over to Kunle and Bayo, who were overseeing the kitchen operations. The woman pleaded, her voice cracking with emotion. "I can do anything. Wash plates, mop the floors, serve dishes. Please, I just need work, any work." Though there was no immediate vacancy for a new employee, Kunle and Bayo felt a strange, inexplicable pull in their hearts towards this woman. A gut feeling, a subtle whisper from the ancestral realm, perhaps. They couldn't explain it, but they decided to offer her a chance. They gave her the job to wash dishes, a task often relegated to the newest, most desperate hire. Unbeknownst to them, this weary, desperate woman was Adiola, their biological mother. After storming out of their lives years ago, abandoning her family for the allure of wealth, she had embarked on a tumultuous journey. 3 failed marriages to wealthy men, each promising the life of luxury she craved, had left her with nothing but a trail of broken promises and deeper debt. Back at square one, she had been used and had used others, a cycle of materialism and fleeting relationships. But this time, it seemed, she had truly nowhere else to go. Her glamorous facade crumbled, leaving only the raw, painful reality of her choices. The next day, Baba Peter, in his new role as a respected patriarch rather than a laborer, came to visit his sons at their flourishing restaurant. After exchanging warm pleasantries and admiring the bustling success of the twins' hearth, he strolled into the kitchen, his heart swelling with pride at the organized chaos. He saw Adiola, bent over a sink, diligently washing dishes, her back to him. She hadn't noticed his presence. He quietly stepped back, a heavy weight settling in, his heart, a deluge of bittersweet memories flooding his mind. He found his sons and sat them down, his voice tinged with a quiet seriousness that instantly captured their attention. "Do you have a new dishwasher, my sons?" he asked, his gaze steady. "Yes, Baba," Kunle replied. "We hired her yesterday." "Do you know her?" Peter asked. "No," they both answered, looking puzzled. "But why are you asking about her, Baba?" Baba Peter cleared his throat, his words slow and deliberate, heavy with the weight of years and unspoken pain. "That woman, the one washing dishes in your kitchen, that woman is Adiola, your mother." Kunle and Bayo's eyes widened in profound disbelief, their minds struggling to process the revelation. "What? Our mother?" Bayo whispered, his voice barely audible. "Yes, she is your mother," Peter affirmed, his gaze unwavering. "After she left us, I burned every picture of her, every memory, for the pain was too great to bear. So, you have never seen her face as she is now, only as she was in fading photographs, perhaps in fleeting dreams." The truth hung in the air, a raw, unexpected wound. A heavy silence descended upon the 3 men, broken only by the distant hum of the kitchen. Then, with a shared resolve, they walked together into the kitchen. Adeola, still bent over the sink, sensed their presence and slowly turned. When she saw Baba Peter standing there, his face etched with a mix of sorrow and recognition, her own face drained of all color. She froze, her hands, still wet with soapy water, trembling, unable to speak a single word. Baba Peter took a deep, fortifying breath and turned to Adiola, his voice steady but heavy with years of suppressed emotion. "Adiola," he began, his voice cutting through the tense silence. "The young men who employed you, the owners of this thriving establishment, they are your sons." Adiola's face became a canvas of shock and horror, her lips trembling as she whispered, I am so sorry. I am so sorry, my sons. The words came out in soft, broken sobs, barely audible, as she bowed her head in profound regret, her frame shaking. Kunle's face hardened, a storm of emotion brewing in his eyes, anger, betrayal, and a deep, aching sadness. You have to leave, he said firmly, his voice sharp with pain. He picked up a handful of crisp Naira notes from the counter, a generous sum, and handed it to Adeola. This is more than you have worked for. Take it. Go somewhere. I don't know you, and you are not my mother. My mother is Iyakaro, the woman who cared for us, not a stranger who abandoned us. His voice broke at the last sentence, but the anger, a searing flame, still burned fiercely in his heart. Bayo, who had been quietly watching the agonizing scene unfold, his own heart torn, wrapped his arms around his twin brother, holding him tightly. I know you're hurting, Kunle, and so am I, he said softly, his voice filled with compassion, the true spirit of empathy. But please don't send her away. Not now. She needs our help, our understanding. Kunle's face twisted with grief, his tears starting to flow freely, hot and bitter. I don't want to help her, he whispered, his voice cracking. Then, pointing at Adeola, who remained bowed, weeping silently, he cried out, This woman left us. She went her way, chasing illusions, while we were left with Baba, to suffer and perhaps to die in the cruel streets of this city. The pain in... His voice was raw, the truth finally spilling from his heart, a flood of repressed sorrow. His sobs echoed through the kitchen, deep and painful, as if years of unshed tears were finally being released. The tears seemed endless, a torrent of long-buried agony, but slowly, as the emotion poured out, the weight of the grief began to lighten, even if just for a moment, making space for a flicker of something else. Adeola, trembling, reached out a tentative hand towards them, her voice filled with profound remorse. I am truly sorry, my sons. Please forgive me. I was young, foolish, and selfish, blinded by the city's false promises. Please forgive me. That evening, Baba Peter sat down with his sons, his face etched with a quiet sadness that mirrored their own. The conversation that followed was one of the hardest they had ever endured. The air was thick with the lingering tension of betrayal and forgiveness, a delicate balance between justice and compassion. After much discussion, after revisiting the pain and acknowledging the deep scar left by their mother's abandonment, their hearts, guided by their father's wisdom and their own innate empathy, softened. They forgave Adeola, though it was not an easy decision, and the scars would always remain. It was a choice rooted in their cultural values of reconciliation and the importance of family, however fractured. The next day, Kunle and Bayo decided to give Adeola a new role in the twins' hearth. They couldn't bear the thought of her, their mother, still washing dishes, a symbol of her fallen pride. She would be the matron, overseeing the front of house, operations, a role that would allow her to demonstrate responsibility and perhaps rediscover her lost dignity. At first, Linda seemed to embody the kindness and grace the restaurant needed. Her past seemed to have humbled her, and she carried herself with a quiet deference. The workers had no issue with her, and customers seemed to warm to her gentle presence, drawn by her mature charm. It seems she has learned her lesson, Peter thought, a cautious hope blossoming in his chest. But over time, subtly at first, then with increasing frequency, something began to change. Adeola's true nature, long suppressed by desperation, started to resurface. Her initially soft voice became sharp and commanding, losing its earlier humility. She began to bully the workers, snapping at them for minor mistakes, her attitude souring like spoiled palm wine. The once harmonious atmosphere in the restaurant grew tense. Workers started to avoid her, whispering behind her back, and customers, sensing the shift in tone and the undercurrent of unease, began to notice. Slowly, like a slow leak in a boat, the restaurant's patronage began to dwindle. The warmth and joy that had once filled the twins' hearth were now replaced with discomfort and a growing unease. Kunle and Bio noticed the change, the subtle erosion of their hard-earned success, but they were torn. How could they confront their own mother, a woman they had only just begun to forgive? The business they had worked so hard for seemed to be slipping through their fingers, a cruel irony. One evening, Kunle and Bayo sat their mother down, their faces somber and full of concern. They had to talk to her about her behavior, hoping she might listen, truly listen this time. But when they spoke, Ariola's defiance was immediate and clear. "I am your mother," she snapped, her voice cold and cutting. "I brought you into this world. You cannot tell me what to do in my son's restaurant." Kunle, feeling the sharp sting of her words, tried to remain calm, drawing on his father's unwavering patience. "You are here to help us, Mama, but your attitude, your approach with the staff, is destroying everything we have worked so hard to build." But Ariola wasn't done. Her eyes narrowed, resentment simmering beneath the surface. "And where is your father, the one you always give money to? He's lazy, just sitting at home, enjoying his life, and you give him everything. But me, your own mother, all you give me is my meager salary." Kunle's face darkened with anger, his patience finally snapping. "I will have a serious problem with you if you ever speak badly about my father again," he said firmly, his voice resonating with a newfound authority. But Ariola, blinded by bitterness, shot back. "You don't love me. You're just managing me." "Here, out of obligation!" The conversation quickly devolved into a heated exchange, neither side willing to back down, the echoes of past hurts mingling with present frustrations. Finally, after the tense meeting, Kunle and Bayo went to their father, exhausted and deeply frustrated. Baba Peter listened quietly, his wisdom shining through. "She is still your mother," he said, his voice heavy with experience. "But if you allow her to continue in the restaurant, she will destroy everything you've worked so hard to build. Her heart has not truly changed, only her circumstances." After much discussion, Mary and Naomi came to a difficult decision. The next day, with heavy hearts but unwavering resolve, Kunle and Bayo delivered their decision to Ariola. She would no longer work in the twins' hearth. Her reaction was swift and explosive, confirming Baba Peter's words. "I know it's your stupid father who poisoned your minds against me!" she shrieked, her voice shaking with unbridled rage, her words echoing the very sentiments she had once hurled at Peter years ago. The insult stung, a bitter reminder of her unchanging character, but Kunle and Bayo stood firm, their unity unbreakable. They watched as their mother stormed off, her harsh words lingering in the air like a noxious smoke. Despite the pain of their mother's departure, the twins, true to their compassionate nature, didn't leave her completely without support. They understood the cultural imperative of looking after family, even a difficult one. They opened a small provision shop for her right in front of her house, allowing her to manage herself and earn a livelihood. It wasn't the ideal reconciliation, but it was a step, a recognition of shared history, without allowing her negativity to poison their burgeoning success. Baba Peter, though hurt by everything that had transpired, still harbored a quiet longing for the days when things had been better, when his family was whole. He wished he could forget the past and bring Ariola back into their lives as his wife, to mend the fractured pieces. But Ariola's consistent behavior, her inability to truly change, had pushed him too far. He couldn't reconcile the pain she had caused with the dream of a renewed partnership. Meanwhile, the twins' hearth flourished. With Ariola gone, the atmosphere improved dramatically, and business boomed once again. Word spread like wildfire about the warm, welcoming service and the consistently delicious food. Soon, the restaurant was thriving like never before. Kunle and Bayo, driven by their ambition and their deep gratitude, expanded, opening new branches in cities all across Nigeria, their brand becoming a household name. Their hard work and dedication had paid off, and they were finally seeing the magnificent fruits of their labor. But it wasn't just the money they had earned. It was the profound peace they had found. Their father was content, no longer burdened by the toxic presence of their mother, enjoying his well-deserved retirement. And the twins' hearth, once again, was the vibrant heart of their success, a testament to integrity and perseverance. Now that money was no longer a problem, they sat down one quiet evening to talk about their long-held dream of becoming medical doctors. Bayo spoke first, his voice soft yet sure. Kunle, the fire. It's no longer burning inside me for medicine. I love this business, this creation we've built. He looked around the bustling restaurant, watching the joyful interaction of customers and staff, and felt a deep sense of pride, a fulfillment he hadn't anticipated. What had started as a dream to become doctors now seemed distant, almost irrelevant compared to the joy and purpose they found in their work, in serving their community. In a different way, Kunle, nodding in agreement, smiled warmly. This business, he said, his eyes sparkling with a new kind of excitement. This is Olodumare's answer to Baba's prayers. I, too, no longer want to be a doctor. I love this business, this connection we have with people. They shared a quiet moment, their hearts at peace with the path they had chosen. The ambition that once burned bright for medicine had been gracefully replaced by a deep passion for their business, and they knew they had found their true calling, their own unique way to heal and nurture their community. As time passed, handsome suitors began to appear for Kunle and Bayo, young women of character and ambition who admired their success and integrity. They were both ready to start a new chapter of their lives. The excitement of planning their weddings filled the air, and the twins, always inseparable, decided to set the date for the same day, a double celebration with their new wives. But there was a quiet concern, a worry about leaving their beloved father alone in his golden years. After some thought and heartfelt discussion, the boys decided to address the matter head-on. One afternoon, they sat down with their father, a little nervous but determined. Kunle began with a gentle voice. Baba, we know you are happy that we have found wives, but we are troubled by the thought of you still being alone. Not all women are like our mother. And we believe there are good women out there, women who will cherish you. Bayo picked up where his brother left off, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. Baba, we have found a wonderful woman for you. A truly kind soul. Baba Peter's face softened as he looked at his sons, touched by their thoughtfulness. Who is she, my sons? He asked, a faint smile on his lips. Bayo smiled, feeling sure of their decision. She works in one of our restaurants, Baba. Her name is Madame Ruth. She's been very kind to us, always offering wise counsel, and we even turn to her for advice on some things. Her husband passed away, and she has 2 lovely children. If you marry her, her kids will be like our younger siblings, and we will make sure they receive the finest education possible. Baba Peter was taken aback for a moment. He wasn't sure what to think, his heart a tapestry of past hurts and new possibilities. But after a long pause, he nodded slowly. I need time to think, he said, his voice thoughtful. After 2 days of quiet reflection, during which he consulted with trusted elders and sought guidance from his ancestors, he finally agreed. He met Madame Ruth, the woman his sons had spoken so highly of, and after talking with her, he saw that she was indeed genuine, kind-hearted, and possessed a quiet strength. He gave his consent to marry her, feeling a profound peace with his decision, a new chapter opening for him too. The wedding was set to coincide with Kunle and Bayo's, a grand triple celebration that would forever be etched in the annals of their family history. On that fateful day, the grand church, resplendent with flowers and joyful song, was filled with love and laughter as Baba Peter, Kunle, and Bayo all took their vows. Iya Caro, who had been a true mother figure to them all, stood proudly as the chief matriarch of the day, her presence symbolizing the enduring power of communal love and family unity. It was a day of new beginnings, not just for the twins and their wives, but for their father, a redemptive culmination of a lifetime of sacrifice, honesty, and unwavering faith. It was a testament to the timeless African values of resilience, communal support, and the enduring power of a pure heart. If you enjoyed the story, then like, subscribe, and share this story with your loved ones. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from.